with that, I'm going to turn it over to Matt, and he's been here many times, so he doesn't need to be introduced. Matt, it's all yours.
I don't know if you guys noticed, but there's construction going on over this You're welcome to use that. Oh, I should have messed with this before I got out here, huh? So, yeah, it's always fantastic to be back here. This is home for me. Maybe you too. I always enjoy coming back to First Christian because you guys have always been supportive. You've always been very encouraging in my ministry experience. So let's see if I don't screw this up, right? So I promised my son that I would open with one of his jokes because I don't know if anybody follows my wife on Facebook, but he's just a really funny kid, and like he has gotten this reputation in school for being, the class clown. I don't know where he would have gotten that from, but his teachers, his classmates all say he's just the funniest kid in the world. So here's a classic Ross joke. What do you get when a dinosaur sneezes? Come on. What do you get when a dinosaur sneezes? Out of the way. I'll let them know how that went. All right, so today's message, it's kind of different. Parents with small children might want to go downstairs. Jake, you might want to do this every once in a while because it gets a little weird, okay? This comes from the Old Testament, and I don't know if anybody's spent a whole lot of time in the Old Testament, but there's some really weird stuff in there. And I would encourage you, just for the fun of it, just to walk through some of these old chapters. Oh gosh. So I love this story because it has stuck with me for well over 20 years. My Sunday school teacher, if I can catch her eye over here, Karen, right up in here in these classrooms, taught us some of the weirder stories in the Bible, just to get us a little more interested in how things in the Old Testament were, and it really works because it has stuck with me for 23 years, right? So this is one of those stories that's so strange that you don't know why it's in the Bible, right? Today we're going to talk about a dude named Ehud. And if nobody has heard this story, I encourage you to open up to the book of Judges, chapter 3. And this is the story of why lefties are better than righties. Okay? According to scientists and brain surgeons and whatever else, right-handed people use the left side of their brain. Therefore, left-handed people use the right side of their brain, right? See where I'm going with this? Left-handed people are in the right mind, right? I'm sure you've heard that one before. But I found a list of interesting facts about lefties. And, I found it on the internet, so it's got to be true, right? So here we go. Between 10% and 12% of people on Earth are left-handed. It's interesting. Women who are over 40 are more likely to give birth to a left-handed child. Lefties are more likely to stutter and be schizophrenic. I don't know if that's a good thing, though. According to science and the internet, I mentioned that 10% of humans, 10 to 12% of humans are left-handed, but 50% of cats are left-handed. It's got to be true. It's on the internet, right? I'm not sure how they would have tested that, but there it is. I picture him like handing a pen to a cat. Here, right? And the cat smacks it out of its hand with his left hand, maybe? I don't know. Lefties are national math wizards. I did not get that trait. Lefties lifespans are shorter than righties, and I think that's because we have to adapt to a right-handed world. Left-handedness runs in families, and it rings true for our family as well. Dad, Andy, and myself are lefties, and Mom and Tim are the outcasts. If we go into royal families, the Queen Mother, Queen Elizabeth II, Prince Charles, and Prince William are all lefties. Lefties are more likely to be geniuses in the family. And I think we know who got that straight. It was Andy. Albert Einstein, Ben Franklin, and Isaac Newton were all lefties. I don't know who knew that. Lefties have their own holiday. I don't know why. It's August 13th, if anybody's curious, and everybody wants to buy me a gift for Left-Handed Day. Lefties have better directional sense. I don't know if that one's true, because Dad got lost. He can't even tell what way is north in this building, and he's been here for 24 years. Let's see, lefties tend to get first seat at a restaurant, because who wants to sit next to a righty who elbows you the entire meal? And then finally, it's believed that many historians and religious authorities say that every person is born left-handed until they commit their first sin. No? Really? Has Dad overused that one? Anyway, Judges 3, we find our story. If you've got your Bibles open, or if you've got your phone, open up to Judges chapter 3. I'm on the wrong page already. We're gonna start in verse 12, and you see this little name on here, Ehud. Let's see. We begin with this phrase, and I love this phrase. Once again, the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord. That's not a good way to start a story, but no good story ever started with a salad, right? The craziest part about the history of Israel is that they've got memory loss. They've got some problems because Israel is God's chosen nation. And if anybody has studied the history of Israel, it goes all the way back to when Abram made that covenant in Genesis 15 to be God's chosen nation. Okay, God promised all kinds of things. He says, if you stay true to me, if you continue to follow me, I will make you the father of nations. And again, up until that moment, Abram, as he was at the time, hadn't had any kids. He was, 75 years old, right? And, it was hard for Abraham to think of that because he's getting up there in age, right? And his wife also kind of getting up there in age and was thinking, she's kind of past the due date there. And I'm not sure that things like this could happen. But he remained faithful. And at 99 years old, Sarah gave birth to a son. From there, it just kind of exploded into this huge, this vast nation of God's chosen people, just as he promised. The only problem that they tend to have is over the years, they were on this roller coaster of, they were close to God, and then they weren't close to God. Yeah, they were close to God, and then they'd forget, right? When they've got their heads on straight, when they're at this high point in their roller coaster life of their relationship with God, God blesses them. God protects them. Okay? But as soon as they forget, they lose sight, and they say, you know what, I've got this. I can do this on my own. I don't need no God to protect me. Then God takes his hand of protection away, just as kind of a little, here's your lesson, right? It's just a little bit of punishment. We get disciplined every once in a while. My dad disciplined the crap out of me when I was a kid. And I think that this is just one of those teaching moments that the nation of Israel had to learn. Okay? So when God removes his protection, he lets the enemies in. And spoiler, things don't go so great for him when that happens. Okay, so in Judges 3, we're starting on, we've got one of these moments where Israel screws up, typical. And then now it says that the Lord handed him over to a guy who sounds like he should be from the Lord of the Rings, King Eglon. And I'm going to struggle with that name all day because I keep wanting to say Elgon. But King Eglon was a Moabite. And as we know through, again, another one of those weird stories of the Old Testament, the Moabites were the sons of Lot. And Lot did some weird stuff. And his sons were a result of an incestuous relationship that Lot had with his daughters. I cannot make this up. There's some weird stuff in the Bible. God saw that this was kind of unnatural, kind of disgusting thing, so he cursed Lot's sons, and now, they're perpetually the bad guys in the story. So, something else that you should know about Eglon, and those of you who know the story are going to kind of grin when you hear this one. Eglon was this just huge, massive, fat guy. Okay? That's going to come into play here in a little bit, but I don't want to spoil anybody too much. Right? So we got all right, Israel losing sight of God. God removes his hand of protection on Israel, and then Eglon sends his people in. They ransack Israel, they rape, pillage, plunder like a bunch of filthy pirates. Here's the thing that there wasn't a thing that the Israelites could do about it, because before, God was their strength. Okay, when they turned their back on God, God said, all right, you do it on your own, see how far you get. Right? Well, in verse 14, it says that the nation of Israel was in slavery for 18 years. It's a long time, right? It takes them 18 years of what I would assume is heavy labor, starvation, maybe some beatings here and there, some imprisonment, until they finally realize, oh, hey, you know what? We probably need to turn our eyes back on that whole God thing. Remember him? I don't know, our dads keep talking about him. I don't know what that was about, but maybe we should say we're sorry. So they do. God, again, because it's their chosen nation, it's his chosen nation, he has compassion on them. And he says, all right, now that you are sorry, I'm going to help you out. So enter our hero. Verse 15 says, the left-handed Benjamites and Ehud. Now, the Israelites had a brilliant plan. They were going to send Ehud, who is, he was a trusted official. He was the second judge of the nation of Israel. He was going to send him in with a large gift for King Eglon. Something that would require a bunch of people to help carry in. Okay, so you got a bunch of big, bulky, burly men like Zach they're carrying this like treasure chest of money in, right? And as the royal guards tended to do, they were in a very defensive mindset. So they checked everybody when they came in. So, they see all these big dudes coming in, they're thinking, okay, this is going to be a trap. This is going to be some kind of Trojan horse thing where they're going to snap and they're going to try to take out the king. So they give him the old pat down, right? Now here's the thing. This is kind of an interesting thing in the day that will come in handy in the story here. There weren't a whole lot of lefties. So they didn't really think to check the right way. If you were going to conceal carry back in the day, you would put a sword or a dagger of some kind on your left thigh, tape it there, tie it there with a couple of ropes. Obviously, they didn't have tape, they wore robes, and they would pull the robe one way, and they grab the sword, and they stab this way. Okay, that'll all come back in a little bit. So they checked all checked all of the men that were carrying the treasure. They were clean. They could go in and deposit their gift or whatever for King Eglon. And set the thing down. They started walking back. So guards are on high alert. Maybe something's going to happen. Maybe something's going to go down. So they leave. All right. Well, on the way back, Ehud kind of goes, "Oh, hey, guess what? Also, I've got a message for you. And he tells his parade of big burly dudes, all right, you guys can keep going. I don't need you anymore. I gotta talk to the king for a little bit. All right? And I think he does that for a tactical advantage. And he sends the big dudes away. The guards are a little more at ease. They're kind of like, okay, nothing's going to happen now because there's no way this dude's going to beat this big dude that's our king, right? Eglon was just this massive dude. And there's no way that Ehud, I don't know how big Ehud was, but there's no way that those two could have duked it out with Ehud coming on top, all right? So, Eglon, he says, all right, come on in, we'll talk for a little bit. He's got his guards there, and Ehud says, this is kind of a secret message. Can you send these guys away? So he does, not thinking anything of it, and Eglon said, this is kind of like my favorite part. It's kind of like Die Hard. Anybody here, Die Hard fans? No? All right. Ehud says, I got a secret message for you, right? And he being a lefty, mind you, he had his right leg checked, or he had his left leg checked. Being a lefty, he taped a sword into his left leg. Or his, gosh dang. Left is this side. Okay, so right would be this side. Tapes a sword to his right leg. He takes it out and stabs the king in the belly, right? And remember, this is this is probably the grossest part of the story. Remember that he's a big dude, right? He stabbed that dude so hard that even the fat closed over the hilt of the sword, right? And you get a little squeamish. I see some kind of ew gross kind of moments, but that's not even the grossest part. He pooped himself, all right? if we really want to get into it, he stabbed him so hard in the gut that his bowels evacuated, okay? And 22 years ago, 12-year-old Matt was like, oh, this is the most hilarious story ever. He pooped himself. And that's probably why it stuck with me the entire time, right? So, all right. Yeah, that's disgusting. But hopefully you're not picturing that too much. Yeah, I've said the Bible is full of sunshine and daisies, but yeah, he stabs the king. He goes down like a sack of bricks, and then he realizes, oh, you know what? Get out of here. How am I going to do this? Door's locked. Guards are on the other side of the door. He can't go that way, because if he opens that door, they're going to see that the king's dead, sitting right there, right? Anybody remember how he gets out? He jumps in the toilet. Back in the day, they were just, it was like a latrine. It was a hole in the ground that had kind of I don't know, like a slide maybe. I don't know, that led to the outside. It was easy to clean maybe, that had an outside, maybe it was on an outside wall, that kind of thing. Anyway, jumps into the toilet, army crawls out. Yeah, it's not that glamorous of a story, but he gets out. He goes back to the camp, and he gets his people, he rallies the troop, and they all start to come in. Now, the guards, they didn't have any idea that Ehud was, or that Eglon was dead. But the servants started to say, okay, we need to attend to the king. The servants go to his chamber doors and realize that they're locked, and they're like, oh, he must be, kind of stinks in here, he must be on the toilet. So I'm just going to wait a little bit. I love the language that he uses in here. He says, they waited to the point of embarrassment before they got a key to check on him. Like, is this a normal thing for King Eglon to spend 45, 50 minutes on the John? Or is it just, I don't know, is it? Anyway, so Ehud, he escapes, goes back to Seirah, rallies the troops, and now God is on his side again. Now God is on the side of Israel. He's got that strength. They've all trusted in the Lord to deliver them from this slavery that the Moabites had on them for 18 years, right? So they went to battle, and they destroyed 10,000 of the Moabites. These are 10,000 of the same guys that they couldn't beat on their own when they turned their back on God. And it's just one of those things. And that's the lesson that I learned 20 years ago. If God is for us, who can be against us? Right? But I think there's so much more in that lesson to learn. Yeah, it's good to remember that God is on our side, but we need to remember that we need to be on God's side too. Okay? God is always for us. We are God's chosen people, but we are just like Israel. We've been repeating the same history that these guys did back in the Bible for centuries. How many of us can look back on our lives and notice the times where we were close to God and sometimes it felt like maybe God was further away? I can remember when I was in high school, I got to play drums for Children of the Light, and in that one year, I felt closer to God than I'd ever had in my entire life. It felt like God was standing right next to me everywhere I went. Then I went to college. And I made some bad decisions. And I thought, you know what, I can do this on my own. I'm fine. I don't really need to go to church every Sunday. I don't need to pray every day. I don't need to read my Bible because, I was really close that one time. I'm fine. And then some stuff happens. And some more stuff happens. And pretty soon I'm down here at the bottom of that roller coaster. I'm thinking, I'm in it. I'm in it deep. But something that we always got to remember is even when we're way down here on the bottom, God is always standing there, just waiting for you to reach your hand, grab his, and pull you up. Every time. And I remember when I was sitting in my dorm, I was staring at my Bible that I hadn't opened in a long time. And I always had my little bookmark, my little ribbon here. I always had it bookmarked to Acts chapter 20. Because while I was there in Children of the Light, God spoke to me through Scripture. He said, guess what? You are destined for great things. You are destined to repeat a life like Paul. And in Acts chapter 20, verse 24, Paul says, I consider my life worth nothing to me unless I use it for doing what God has assigned to me. And that's telling everybody he comes in contact with the good news. At that moment, God was reaching his hand out. I'm looking up going, all right, man, let's do this. I'm not saying my life has been perfect since then. I'm not saying that I've been riding the spiritual high since college, because Lord knows that's not true. I've experienced some really low lows. But I've also experienced some really high highs. I think that God has a plan for each one of us. I know that sounds taboo, or sounds cliche, but God does. He's got a plan for each and every one of us. It doesn't matter what walk of life that you're in. You could be in high school, you could be in college, you could be at the Senior Citizen Center, you could be somewhere in between, God's got something planned for you. And we got to remember that just like the nation of Israel, we got to be on God's side too. Okay? It's easy to get distracted. Really easy to get distracted. I'm about as squirrel as they come. Like if I see a raccoon as they come. If I see something shiny, sometimes okay, yeah. We're smart, right? Some of us. We're capable of doing a lot of things. Sometimes we get this false sense of control over our own lives, and we think that we can ignore the reality that God is actually the one that gives us that strength. He gives us endurance He gives us that drive, doesn't he? You know, our enemies of pride, greed, lust, envy, gluttony, and wrath. Oh, yeah, laziness. Yeah, that's in there too. These things are all waiting for us to screw up. They're waiting for us to take our eyes off Christ so that they can attack us. The best offense is a good defense, right? When we're faithful to God, God protects us. Just like Moses said to Joshua in Deuteronomy 31, don't be afraid. Don't be discouraged. For the Lord will personally go ahead of you. He will be with you. He will neither fail you or abandon you. So I want you to take that with you this morning. The Lord will never abandon you. When times get rough, when you feel that distance from God, remember that He isn't the one that pushed you away. He will always be with you. Always. You pray with me? Heavenly Father, we want to thank you. Thank you for your faithfulness. Like Tim said earlier, thank you for your patience with us. We don't deserve it. We aren't worthy of that. But you love us so much that you want so badly to be with us. And Father, as we leave this place today, I just pray that you give us the opportunity to do good things. Give us that opportunity to come back. Give us that opportunity to do whatever's necessary to have a solid relationship with you so that you can do great things through us. And Father, I want to thank you again for the blessings that you've given me and the things that you've shown me in my life. Because without you, I am nothing. Amen. So our closing song is number 98. Don't know.
Great is thy faithfulness.
Great is thy faithfulness. If you want to stand up with us.
There, Kate.
The Lord himself goes before you. He will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. Amen.